Now to a controversial game at Old Trafford. We'll talk about the incidents in this match in Ref Watch. That's coming up 11 o'clock. In case you needed to be reminded, I mean, goodness gracious. But the result at Old Trafford means Aston Villa miss out on Champions League football next season.
Overall, I can analyze so quick now the season we did, and we achieved the objective being Europe, not the conference, not Champions League, Europa League. And this is the third year in a row playing in Europe, and we want to enjoy it.
Right, I'm not even going to bother to get the smugometer out today. I mean, that would just be mean. If you've missed what the smugometer is, first of all, shame on you, because you haven't been watching the football show. Secondly, it's to see how smug Stephen Warnock is by his predictions, especially over Aston Villa. Yeah. Right, so let's get to it. Aston Villa miss out on Champions League football. It promised so much.
Yeah.
So that promise, does that make this feel like failure? Despite the fact they did wonderfully well in the Champions League, they almost got there again. Yeah. Any other season, considering where they were when he took over, that would be great. And an FA Cup semi-final as well. So was it really that bad?
No, I think Aston Villa fans and the players, when they look back over the season, will think it's been an incredibly successful one. To juggle Champions League football in the first sort of time in the Champions League and to finish where they finished, sixth in the Premier League, is a great achievement. But they'll feel like the way they competed in the Champions League this year, that they're good enough to be in there again. And to miss out in the way that they've missed out will be bitterly disappointing. Just wonder what the effect of Marcus Rashford's injury had on the team over that sort of last few games of the season, whether it affected them, because essentially he was brought in to help push them over that line, to get them into the Champions League and potentially sign players of his calibre moving forward. So the players will feel a little bit annoyed and a little bit frustrated that they've not been able to achieve it. However, when they look back at the end of the season to juggle everything that they did, I'm sure they'll be immensely proud.
Yeah. But
always a
whether the decisions went against them or not, and yes, Ref Watch at 11. How surprised were you that John McGinn was saying it afterwards, actually, in his post-match interview, that sort of they didn't even deserve to win the game. Whether the decisions went against them or not, they didn't really turn up, which is the most puzzling thing about it, isn't it?
Yeah, they certainly didn't play as we've seen them play this season. I thought Manchester United played a little bit with the pressure off, and we didn't see the best of Aston Villa, and that will disappoint them. I know that the decision will be so frustrating and angered them, and you wonder if that hadn't have happened, would the game be slightly different? But I think the Villa players will know themselves that they should have done better in that game, particularly in that first half. But yeah, I agree with Steve. And I think on the whole, you would say, you know, the season's been good. The Champions League run was excellent. Sort of the FA Cup run, where they finished, yes, they'll be disappointed because Unai Emery said our aim is to get into the Champions League. But you just feel with Unai Emery's experience and know-how in the Europa League, he'll be looking to go and win that, won't he, next season? So you think, go and win that Champions League football and keep seeing the progression. I agree with Rashford's injury. I thought, you know, that competition between him and Watkins. I also think the Tielemans injury had a huge impact in their sort of latter stages because he's been so pivotal, hasn't he, for them. He's been one of their best players. So, yeah, missing important players at key points in the season. But overall, we know that Unai Emery will reflect. He's so meticulous and he'll look to go again next season. And what he's done since he's come into the football club's been tremendous.
Yeah. Ollie Watkins. Let's discuss him for a moment. His future, how much is that in question now, Stephen? Is this the right time for him to leave or should he stay? What will this summer bring for him?
Hopefully he stays. I think when you think of what he's done at Aston Villa and the performances that he's turned in, but you've got to think of it as a two-way relationship. Villa have helped him as well, as much as he's helped them. So I think if they'd have gotten to the Champions League places, maybe they would have bought him higher quality players, but maybe that helps him a little bit and allows him to stay at the club. I think he'd have stayed anyway. I think Unai Emery would have wanted to keep someone of Ollie Watkins' quality, knows his reliability, knows his durability, knows he can count on him to be fit for large parts of the season. I think he only picked up one injury, hasn't he, since in his time at Aston Villa. So that shows you how fit and dedicated he is to the profession. And sometimes those players are very hard to find out on the transfer market. And obviously as well, scores goals. And that's very hard to find as well. So I wouldn't be in a rush to offload him at all.
For Aston Villa, though, big summer ahead of them, you would think. I mean, Martinez, not the way he would have, perhaps, if that was his last game. Unless he had a plane to catch. I mean, imagine dashing off quickly because you've got a plane to catch. Your final appearance somewhere. Imagine that. How much has this slip out of the top 5 cost them in what they want to do? Will they be forced to sell? I mean, that man there as well is one who's been linked with other clubs too. So he's a prized asset. May they be forced to sell in order to recruit?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Aston Villa is a pull. I think with that manager as well, the way that you see players work under him and develop and improve. I think if you were a player, you would want to come to Aston Villa because you can see where they're going. Yes, they've missed out on the Champions League, but still the opportunity to play in Europe, potentially go and win that, and then next season compete again. So, yeah, it is about keeping hold of those key players, those assets that you said, and then also adding, because they strengthened in January, and you could see that give them that extra little push, didn't it, to really push on. I think they'll do the same again in the summer.